Friends, what I'm going to speak today is extremely important. And I think we need mindfulness in this day and age more than we ever needed before. So, once I was scrolling through some products on Amazon, I was looking for a protein powder, and next day onwards, on my Facebook page, I start seeing ads of protein powders. When I don't pay attention, every day those ads are repeated. And then I see them on other platforms also, wherever I have a digital footprint. And I was quite annoyed with it. And the same thing happened with Google Maps. We think that Google Maps are an extremely useful function which helps us navigate and reach our destinations without really being worried. But every time I went to a place, immediately I got a prompt from Google, did you like so and so place? And I'm like, how's this happening? So then I went on the internet, I looked up for some settings, I changed those settings, but still the same thing. And now recently, friends, with connection to this, I came across a documentary on Netflix which all of you must watch. And the title of the documentary is The Social Media Dilemma. And here is what some of the creators who were involved in creating Facebook, creating Google, creating Pinterest and other social media platforms, Instagram, here's what they had to say: that every single thing that we do on the internet is mapped, is recorded, and everything is algorithmed, which means we are very easily and subtly, like a slow poison, manipulated. And and how does this manipulation happen? By priming our brain. And when our brain is primed enough, while we may want to believe that we have a free will to choose, friends, actually you'll be surprised. The window of free will is very, very narrow. We don't make choices consciously because we are primed. And all this social media jazz is priming us for various things. It is manipulating us into decision making. It is manipulating us into political affiliation. It is manipulating us into religious affiliations. And here's the worst thing, and also the dark side. Whatever I see on my Facebook page, my friend will not see that, because whatever I watch is again algorithmed. It goes back into their databases and predictions are done using artificial intelligence. And if I have seen a video of some political party which is a pro video, I'll start getting all those videos. I'll start getting the same recommendations on YouTube. And it's so scary that we are not left with much choices. And therefore, I liked one line that is mentioned in the documentary: when you're not using a product, remember you are the product. And all of us are products in these big companies' hands, where every single thing is manipulated. They manipulate us into what clothes should we wear, what should we eat, what places should we visit, what entertainment should we consume, where should our political affiliation be, to the point that elections are getting manipulated, consumer behavior is getting manipulated. And it's really, really sad that technology can be used for such fantastic things. It has got some lovely changes in our life, but sadly there are these opposite forces which are much more stronger than doing good for common humanity. And therefore I think in today's day and age we need mindfulness more than ever before, because it is very easy to get tricked into the social media and the television media, to be manipulated into creating polarized thinking. And that's what they are doing: polarizing people, radicalizing people. And one of the creators has said this, that my fear is that this will create a civil war. And we are already starting to see traces of this, friends. While conversations are happening very covertly within subgroups, there won't be a day too far away that they will start happening very openly and will create a massive unrest. And here's the thing, why is this important? It is important because psychologically, when we see somebody do not belonging to our clan, we have less empathy, less compassion for that person. In fact, we don't feel anything for that person. And this is really, really, really dangerous. And I think, therefore, what I feel is that we first of all consume content very judiciously. And in the path of mindfulness, we say that we should not be concerned just about what the food we consume, but we also should be concerned about what we consume through our five senses. And the more we are primed into consuming content which is radicalizing us, polarizing us, influencing our thinking, we should raise a flag. And before we conclude anything in our mind, we should just pause and be mindful about what are the thoughts that I'm attracting when I've consumed a certain content. Have I already concluded, or should I make a cautious choice to look at both sides of the coin, and therefore not take any of our thoughts which are especially against somebody, which are especially looking down upon somebody, which is especially calling the other as wrong and calling yourself as right. We all must challenge these thoughts which are triggered by our brain being primed by this social media. And therefore, this is what I call mindfulness in action, which is the clarity of comprehension, the clarity of my internal world functioning, and then making a conscious choice. I have seen in India, when after this election happened, so much of hatred, so much of venom is being spewed by pro and opposite forces against each other, that you feel when you go on social media, you feel, we are no more one, we are fragmented. And it won't be too far away that we actually start turning against our own people. And that's one part of this manipulation that is happening. The other part of constantly putting selfies, constantly putting pictures of your vacations, constantly updating your status, this is again a horrible thing to do. I personally know at least 10 to 15 people who are struggling in their life, in their personal space right now. The love life is suffering, they do not have great friend circle, and every time these people post on social media, it appears for others that their life is awesome. Somehow again we're being manipulated in living a fake life, which has been boiled down to acquiring and securing mere a handful of likes, and therefore deciding our self-worth. I mean, people have 5,000 friends on Facebook and not even 5 in life, when they actually need someone to cry, and when they actually need somebody to confide in. What is this leading us, and where is this leading us? I mean, I think this is dreadful. One of the person in the documentary saying, when we created the like button on Facebook, our intent was to spread positivity. But you know what is this button created? It has created animosity, it has created fear, it has created jealousy, it has created non-cooperation, it has created bullying. Children in school are fighting with each other because my status was liked less than my friend's status. Can you imagine what kind of self-esteem are we going to harness, which is constantly dependent on seeking approval? And here's where we need mindfulness again, to be able to be comfortable with our inner world, to be able to be comfortable with who we are, not constantly seeking approval and looking for the sense of self-worth. Now here's what happens: when you get a few likes, the brain instantly spikes up and releases dopamine, pleasure chemical. But the problem is that you see one harsh comment and the brain slips very quickly towards negativity, and throughout the day that one harsh comment will start playing in your psyche very, very strongly. And then we are not mindful. In fact, we are mindless, being completely driven by people who we don't know, by people who actually don't matter to us. And therefore this is again creating a state where it is pushing people into faking their worlds, where we are losing out on having honest conversations, where we are losing out, where we are not valuing vulnerability, empathy as the greatest human traits. And that's when people connect. We think by putting these updates and continuously portraying our life to be larger than life picture, we think we are connecting with people. No, we are not connecting with people. We're only whitewashing it. There are no real conversations happening. Friendships have become fragile, and social interactions are becoming unmeaningful. I'm not saying that this is happening in every nook and corner, but I'm sure it will start happening if we don't become mindful. If we are not mindful about our actions, if we are not mindful about our emotional world, if we are not mindful about our thoughts, if we are not mindful about what true relationships are, if we are not, I mean, there have been instances where I have heard in coaching conversations, you know, friends discussing something very deeply amongst each other, but a lot of times rather than focusing on the conversation, people are more interested in what their virtual friends are doing and constantly checking out their mobile phones. Subconsciously we check our phones 150 times a day, even when there is no message on the phone flashing. This is really, really scary, because now we've been completely manipulated, and that's what these creators of social media platform intended. How do they keep us hooked onto their platform by coming up with these likes buttons, statuses and status updates and profile pictures and so on and so forth? Because the more we spend time on social media, the more they get advertising revenue. And this is not just happening with a particular age group, it is happening across age groups. People are getting addicted to WhatsApp. In a funny way, a lot of people are saying there is a parallel university called as WhatsApp University, right? So this is addiction, and this is exactly what these guys intended to do: make us addicts to consume content continuously. And therefore, if we don't make our choices mindfully, somebody else is continuously manipulating us because we are a product. Nothing matters to them. What matters to them is, how do I get the most out of this product? That's it. So our data are going to be sold, they're going to be transferred from one company to another, and crazy things are going to happen. One of the conferences in India was talking about data colonization, and I see it happening very clearly. Therefore, we need to move mindfully through our day-to-day life to make very informed choices. Otherwise, by continuously being primed, you wouldn't even have a clue how we are on autopilot when left with no choice at all. Because once we are primed, the window of free will is extremely narrow. So, literally, mindfulness is not just about sitting at one place and meditating, but it is about carrying that awareness in our day to day life and making our choices from that orientation or that focal point where they lead us to a life of well being, a life of safe inner world, and a life of connection, not polarization and radicalization. So, friends, I urge you to consider this aspect about we need mindfulness more than ever before. Thank you very much.